Yeah, absolutely. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi
I
wa
want to
barakatuh.
formally thank you all for, again, coming out to Sukoon's second event, our Halaqa game night. We are very, very excited to host you all. Alhamdulillah, we got a great program for everyone. We already got started with some games. There's some refreshments in the back. We're going to proceed with our Halaqa now, and we will go until about 8:15, inshallah. And then at 8:15, we'll break for Maghrib. We'll be praying here in the hall, inshallah. And then from there, we'll open it up to continue the games, and there'll be food. We have Pizza Castle. So inshallah, it'll be a great time for everyone. All right, so I have the distinct honor and privilege to introduce our guest speaker for tonight, Sister Neelam Mahmood. For those that know her, and for those that don't, Sister Neelam, for one, is an integral part of our community here in South Florida. Sister Neelam has a strong background in clinical social work. Currently, she serves and works at the Senate Trust Foundation, where she serves as a learning coach as well as a wellness coordinator. And Sister Neelam provides academic services as well as coaching and counseling and CETA sessions to her students, as well as the community at large. And also, Sister Neelam has had experience working as an associate director at the Florida International University, and she's currently on track on becoming a fully licensed clinical social worker. So, with that, I'll hand it over to Sister Neelam.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. How's everyone doing? Good. Good, alhamdulillah. All right, I have 30 minutes, 25, right? So we have 5 minutes for questions. All right, inshallah. So I want to start quickly by just saying that thank you, of course, first and foremost, for inviting me. It's always an honor, a privilege, extremely humbling to be able to sit in front of anybody and act as if though I know what I'm talking about. I think everything that we will talk about today or in any gathering is a learning opportunity for all of us, myself included. So anything I share here serve as reminders for myself. This doesn't mean that I have it all figured out. So if you catch me on something and you say, well, you know what, I have a better idea, share it. Please interrupt me, stop, let's talk, and let's have some dialogue, okay? So work-life balance, the first thing I thought about when is there an echo? Is that like bothersome? You guys are okay with that? Okay, I just hear myself. When I think of work-life balance, immediately I started thinking about like COVID, right? And how the work scene has completely changed since, right? For a lot of us who were working by then, we knew what it felt like. Some of you were probably not in the workforce yet, and that's okay, but life changed, a lot changed, right? And so a lot of these definitions or what we understood work to be was redefined. It was reimagined and it was re-envisioned. And work-life balance is one of those things. And so if you really go back into the literature and you start looking at what work-life balance looks like, is there really a balance? Would you truly say there is a balance? And you can just shout it out or say, yes, I think there is, no, absolutely not. Or, you know, what balance means to me is different than what it means to you, right? When we think balance, I think we tend to look at it with a lot of rigidity, right? Like I have to have a level playing field. I have to be really good and really present at home, and I have to be really good and really present at work all the time, right? That's what balance looks like. You see the scales in your mind, right? Like the scales kind of have to be level, right? Or I'm kind of not achieving what I'm supposed to be achieving. The reality is that doesn't happen. I mean, when are we 100% mom and dad and brother and sister and son and child and daughter and 100% coworker, boss? I mean, we'd be completely depleted, right? It's impossible. It's impossible to do that. So the redefined, reimagined concept is a work-life integration, work-life harmony, or what I like to call work-life synergy. It's just two entities that are not mutually exclusive. They don't sit alone apart from each other. They work in harmony. They have to. That is the only way that we can be successful in every aspect of our lives, right? And we're still going to have a difficult time. So this idea of synergy, this idea of two elements working together basically means that they support and they complement each other all the time, right? How does that look in the workplace? How does that look at home? And that's what we're really going to dive into, right? How do I define that? What are some actionable steps I can take to start living in that way so that I'm not leading toward burnout? And that is coming from somebody who was completely burned out by year 15 at FIU. I say that very openly and honestly because I need people to know that it's real and it can happen, and especially for the women. And I hate to say that, I'm sorry. You guys can burn out too. I think there's just an invisible load on women sometimes, especially once we become mothers and caretakers, that we are now trying to balance a lot of stuff, right? So we'll kind of get into that a little bit too. But if these two entities are not mutually exclusive, if they're working together in harmony, that means that I should be able to come to work as my whole self, right? What does that mean if I'm saying I'm coming to work as my whole self? What does that look like? I'm bringing in elements of my family, elements of my faith, right? I should be. Feelings. I'm a word nerd, by the way, so I always love when I can come up with like cool acronyms or something to help people remember stuff. So this was more like just finding 3 words that started with F: faith, family, and feelings. If I can bring all of that to work, I've brought my whole self to work, right? And that's something that I shouldn't be afraid of doing. That's not something that I should be shy about doing. Faith first and foremost. I need people to know I'm Muslim, right? And if I worked somewhere for 10 years and people just found out in year 10 that I'm Muslim, I did something wrong, right? So think about all of that as we continue to talk a little bit about some actionable steps. And please, let's make this interactive. If you have something you want to share, if something you want to add, please do. I really want to be able to have some dialogue around this, okay? So going back to the topic, balancing our lives as professionals, parents, and believers, and everything in between, because there's more, right? What does that look like? What does that mean? What does it mean? What does balance in those aspects mean to you guys? Like, what are you seeking? You can just throw out the words.
Being present.
Being present, okay.
Proper sleep.
Sleep, yeah. Yeah, that's important. Anything else?
Taking breaks.
Taking breaks, yes, absolutely. That's a good one. I'm going to talk a lot about that. Fulfillment, right? Looking for fulfillment in all aspects of our lives, right? Because sometimes it doesn't feel fulfilling anymore, and that's also a reality. We don't feel fulfilled 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Yes?
Making sure you're not diving so deep into any of them where like you start delaying salah.
Absolutely, 100%.
Prioritize correctly. Keeps a balance.
Yep, absolutely. That's part of the balance, right? Seeking that balance where some things, especially our faith, does not start to get compromised, right? But that can happen. There's going to be a give and take, and that's the hard part. But faith is the one thing we don't want to compromise, right? Or the things that we do to maintain that connection to Allah. As I get into more of like the spiritual side, I always like to share that I am by no means a learned individual from the Islamic perspective. So anything I share honestly comes from whatever I have learned from mentors and teachers and classes that I've taken. Don't quote me, I will quote them when I can. And anything that I share is purely stuff that I have kind of integrated into my own life. I want people to know that because I am not one of our amazing teachers. So the first thing I think about, because I definitely wanted to leave us all here with some actionable steps that I hope you can take home with you. When we talk about fulfillment, right, having some degree of fulfillment in the things that we do in our lives, we hear a lot of times, well, the work that I do is really not something where I feel like I'm doing something faith-based or something that is fulfilling. So how do I find fulfillment in my work? Or how do I feel like what I'm doing is that I'm getting any kind of reward for it, right? The one thing that I was reminded of and that I will remind all of you of is that when we are in the service of any human being, that is a form of worship, right? And so the reality of that is if we are resetting our intention every day when we walk through those doors or walk into that cubicle or sit in front of our computer and we make that intention that what I'm doing is serving people, and I'm not just serving people. As a Muslim, I'm serving people with ihsan, excellence, right? And with the utmost state of adab, I have now displayed myself as a Muslim in service, right? And for those of us who are not working, but we're at home, we are working. We are in the service of our families. We are serving our children all day long. We are serving our husbands. We are serving our in-laws. We're serving our parents. That is also a form of worship. There is never time that goes by that is wasted time. There's nothing that you do in your day that is not a form of ibadah, right? And just reframe, reset your intention. My most humble, beautiful Quran teacher basically said this to me the other day. I was completely exhausted, burnt out. I work with young children sometimes, and some of their stories and their lives are very, very heavy. And I said to her, I won't say her name, but I said, sister, I'm like done. I feel like I just have nothing left to give. And she said, Neelam, every day that you come in here, you need to reset your intention that whatever you're doing is for Allah, because the clarity is not going to come to you. It's not meant to come to you. But the reward and the outcome is in Allah's hands. You're not in charge of that, right? So that reminder to remain humble and that we are doing it with the intention that we are just serving in any capacity. So any work you're doing, whether you're working with staff, whether you're working with students, whether you're working with contractors or clients, make those interactions meaningful. I remember having this conversation recently with my husband, and he's like, sometimes I'm like, what am I even doing? He's like, I'm just, I'm building towers, and okay, I'm getting people to use more social media. how am I helping anybody, right? And I told him, the interactions and the relationships that you build with people, right? That is also a form of being able to show people our faith and who we are. So just resetting our intention is an important aspect of creating that balance, because when we are resetting that intention, there's less room for distractions. There's less room for these negative thoughts or some of those things that kind of come into our minds, right? Because my intention is to do this for the sake of Allah, right? That's why I'm doing what I do every day, and for my family, of course. The second piece is to set boundaries, and this is part of what we talked about, bringing our faith into our workplace and why it's so important. Setting boundaries early and clearly is very important. I, again, am guilty of not having done this, and that's why I share this. There's no reason why there can't be a conversation about Jummah. I have a ritual prayer that I need to attend every Friday at this time. I'd like it if I could leave at this time. I'd appreciate it. I would take, this would be my lunch break, or whatever that looks like. But that type of communication and conversation early on is so incredibly important. Setting those boundaries is so incredibly important. Why? And all of this will make a little bit of sense toward the end, inshallah, I hope, when I can bring it all together. We're talking about balance. We're talking about feeling good about ourselves. If we're making time, which this is not how it should be, there should always be time, but if we're actually making a deliberate effort to make time for our faith and our prayer and our dhikr, the other things start to fall into place, right? Because we prioritize the things that are supposed to be prioritized. Make time for prayer. Make sure that you're setting those boundaries. If you have children and you need to leave early, you state that early on. Daycare closes at 5 o'clock. I need to be out of here by 4:45 to make it in time to pick up my child. That's a non-negotiable. You're a parent, and that needs to be communicated to the workplace. Because how many times does 5 o'clock start to creep up, right? And the angst starts to kick in. Where's the balance? Where's the harmony? It's not there because I never communicated to somebody that I needed to get out of here so I could pick up my kid, right? That's when these things start to build up. So set those boundaries, create those expectations early Don't be afraid to. You have that right. Yes, they pay you, but you know what? You're serving that place. You're doing something for that. And this is not just for the moms, this is for the dads too. A lot of times, you know, you'll go to these events and dads can't get out and they can't go to, you know, an event for a student and for their child. And I get it. Sometimes work doesn't allow for that, but we can start to have those conversations at the workplace to help us get to a space where people are understanding of that your time is your time and this is your whole self coming to work. So I know that we all have kind of our ways of organizing work at work, prioritizing our work. Does anybody have a method that they would be willing to share? Like, how do you prioritize your work at work? Projects? To-do list, okay.
Time blocking.
Time blocking, I like that, that's good. Is it like the interval, right? Working in blocks of time. Okay, cool, I'm gonna talk about that. Is your to-do list color-coded? Anything else? What do our guys do? I don't think they do color-coded to-do lists, but does anybody do anything? Does anybody have a method? Like, do you guys have?
A lot of post-it.
Post-it notes, okay. All right. And those are like, do they go like in high priority to low priority? And higher on the screen, is that like? Okay. All right. Has anybody heard of the Eisenhower matrix? Okay. So in short, the Eisenhower matrix has 4 quadrants. Top left quadrant is urgent, important. Top right is not urgent, important. Lower left is important, not urgent, and then not urgent, not important. Thank you. I was like, which one did I say there? Yeah. So the top 2 are probably, right? You could say they're important. They're the most important. What sits in those 2 quadrants most of the time for you guys? And you can, I mean, you don't have to tell me the name of your project because I'll have no clue what it is, but you can give me an idea of time-sensitive items.
Things that other people need from me.
Okay. At the workplace.
Right.
Anything else?
Things that block other things.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
Things that block other things.
Oh, okay, yeah, that happens a lot.
Are you asking specifically about work or like related to? Like put the her?
Yeah. Is the her on there?
It should be at the top left.
Yeah, it should be up. Absolutely. That's exactly where I'm going with this. That's exactly where I'm going with this. Even if this to-do list or this matrix or whatever you use is at work, is any of you in there? Is any of how you feel or what you need to be successful and actually tackle that list on there? Is urgent and important that I need to break for the her? Is not urgent but important that I need to stop and take a walk and get outside? It's probably not on that list. It never was on mine, so I can't imagine. I mean, if it is, kudos to you. Then you should be up here because it never made it to my list. But why is being able to get outside and take a walk so important? Why is it so important to step away from that screen and get out and get some sun? I have an auntie in there in the back. Did you want to share?
I was going to say to reset your mind and clear your mind from distractions. And sometimes when you do too much work after work, you become almost like you need to take a step back.
Yeah, absolutely.
It gives you a different point of view.
Exactly. It gives you perspective, it gives you clarity, it pulls you away, and there are healing properties in nature. Honestly, at just a very basic foundational level, research will show you that getting out in nature, even if for just a few minutes, whether it's feeling the breeze, getting some sun, being outside with intentionality, recognizing the things around you has healing properties. Try it, I promise you. If you are completely stressed out at your desk, walk out. Take a little walk, and you'll see the impact that that has on your heart rate, on clarity, on perspective. You were reading the same thing 20 times, couldn't figure out what to do, you'll come back and you'll know how to answer that question, right? So top left We have to start including. And in top right too, right? Maybe not urgent, but important. Making time for even dhikr, right? And honestly, getting out in nature with intentionality is a form of dhikr. So you're killing two birds with one stone. I shouldn't be saying killing. I think we should change that, but you are, right? I think we forget that there are so many opportunities for dhikr that it doesn't have to be a tasbih in my hand. If it is, that's great. But if I can't do that at any given moment, then I can find other opportunities to be able to fit that into my life. It shouldn't be fit in. It should be in that little sweet spot in those two quadrants somewhere, right? Because you need that for balance. How am I doing on time? Good. Okay. So you need that to be a better version of you, right? You need that to, again, get to this notion of balance that we're trying to get to, right? We talked about, the first one was, does anybody remember? Let's see if anybody's listening. Nobody's listening. What was the first one? Okay, it's okay. I'll tell you guys. Resetting your intention, right? Making an intention every day and resetting that intention as you go in every day. The second one was setting boundaries, yes. Clarifying boundaries, what the expectations are, what you need. And then the third one now is prioritizing you, right? In that priority list of things you need to get done, prioritizing you, prioritizing faith, prioritizing the things that you need to be okay. That could even be like, you know, I need to take a break and go to my kids' program or something, right? Like being able to put that in urgent and important. That is urgent and important. If I don't show up, my kids can be like, where's my mom, right? So I might have 20 things to do, but one of those should be my kid, even if I'm at work, right? Coming from a mom who missed some kid programs and had a lot of guilt about it, all right? Remember to include that in, that's your whole self at work, right? And the last one, managing your time effectively. So this is where we'll talk a little bit about what was your name? Yeah.
Oh, Gladine?
Claudine?
Yeah, Gladine.
So Gladine said here about working in time blocks, and that's a really, really good strategy. So managing your time effectively. We hear about time management all the time, but what does that look like sometimes in the workplace? And for each of us, it can look a little bit different. At home, I hate to say workplace only because at home is a workplace too for people who aren't necessarily working, but they're at home or working from home and have kids at home while they're working from home. It's insane. That's insanity. You're doing 2 full-time jobs at the same time, trying to take care of a kid and trying to get work done, right? And then when you get a little break, you go and you put the laundry in. I mean, like, women are superwomen. Like, right? Like, how do you do this? But, so the time block concept, has anybody heard of the Pomodoro technique? What's Pomodoro? It's a ridiculous name, if you ask me. I don't know why it's called that, but.
The tomato technique, right?
Yeah.
40 minutes on or...
Yeah, so the Pomodoro one was actually 5 minutes. Okay, 5 minutes, nice. That was 25-5. You work in 25-minute increments and you take a 5-minute break. And you do that 4 times before you get to take a nice long break, 15 to 30 minutes. Doesn't work for everybody. I sometimes don't work in 25-minute spurts. Sometimes I like 40 minutes or 45 minutes, right? Some people do a 45, 15, whatever works for you. What's the purpose of that? Why would you do that? Like, why is that so important?
So you can progressively get the work done?
Yeah, be productive, right? And especially if our phone is next to us, I don't know that we're working in true 20 to 25, 30-minute spurts. And that is a big part of it. Put the phone away. If you're gonna put 15 to 20-minute timer on work, put the phone away for 15 to 20 minutes. I promise you, I tried this. There was a time where I just took it and I chucked it in my bag. I closed the drawer and I worked for 45 minutes straight and I forgot I had a phone. I kid you not, I came out of this like matrix of work after 45 minutes, completely forgot that I had a phone. I started walking out because I was going to get my coffee and I was like, oh wait, I don't have my phone on me. It's amazing. Even having the phone out next to you, even if you promise yourself you're not gonna look at it, but a light pops up, there's a lot of studies on this. It shifts the way your brain works completely. That alert system will completely shift how you process what you're doing in that moment. So take the little breaks, put the phone away, put it aside, pretend it's not even there. If there's an emergency, I I hope not, but somebody will find a way to get in touch with you in that 25-minute time slot. So there's that. There's also, we were talking, when I was talking to Brother Hamza and Brother Hunid, we were talking a little bit about this concept of, getting distracted or sometimes going down this like doom scrolling, right? We all do it. We all doom scroll when we have nothing else to do, when we're just there and kind of going. How do you stop that from happening? There's something called episodic future thinking. It's like a new concept. You don't have to call it that. It's just thinking ahead. And thinking, if I did this now, would I probably regret it later? Yes. Think about yourself ahead, like your future self is smarter than your present self. I don't want to be there. I'm going to stop myself right now. Put it down, put it away, keep working, okay? That's another kind of just a strategy. And the last thing I'll talk about is like these breaks that we were talking about. I know somebody here said taking breaks, right? This concept of taking breaks is so incredibly important, and it doesn't have to be like a spa day, right? It doesn't, I think that's where we're like, I need my spa day. That's like my day. That works, but how long does it work? Do you come back from a spa day rejuvenated for 2 days, and then day 3 you're like, I don't feel so great again. I'm overwhelmed again. Because sometimes we need more than that. I'm sorry, I don't know what you guys like to do. My husband likes to golf, maybe basketball, something, right? Spa day's good? Okay, good. I'm glad you get your pedicures. But whatever it is, right? Maybe it resets you and it's great. It's great to have it. It's a good habit. But what else can I do that might be a little bit more fulfilling and consistently do it, right? Maybe it's a class that you decide to take. Maybe somebody's like, man, I'm tired of being mom. I just want to take like a crocheting class. I don't know. Or I want to take something where I'm learning something different. Or maybe I'm going to improve my tajweed. I'm going to take a tajweed class, right? And it's something I'm interested in too. I've just been putting it off. Whatever it is, find those moments to take those breaks. There's this concept of micro, meso, and macro breaks. The micro breaks are like these, working in small intervals, right? Still giving yourself breaks. The meso breaks are weekly breaks, making sure you're taking like 2 to 3 hours doing something every week. That could be the basketball or the spa, right? Or the whatever, the pedicure. That's like your weekly little, this is my time to reset. For a mom who's always with kids, you better have your me time, whatever that is. This hour is non-negotiable. You figure out the kids, right? Moms need that, right? This is a non-negotiable for me. I need to do something to reset, whatever that is for me, right? And then the macro break is like once a month, once every 6 weeks, taking a day. Take a day off. I know that sick time has accrued. I know those vacation hours have rolled over to like 3 years worth of vacation time, right? Take some time off, whether it's reconnecting with a spouse, whether it's spending time with mom and dad, right? Like take that time, because that is the time that you do not get back. You don't get that time back. And I think a lot of times we're guilted into believing that if we show up to work every single day and we have like a record attendance, that we're just better employees. No, we're not. We're exhausted. We're burnt out. Take the breaks. You're allowed those breaks, right? And I'll say just 2 things before we close off. I said this in the beginning, I'll say it again. We're all in this together. Ain't nobody here got it figured out. I'll tell you that. Whoever is up here doesn't mean that they know it better than you. They're living it too. A lot of you know me. I invite you to come to my house. Those who have come, we don't have it all figured out. Things are all over the place, but the balance is in the smaller moments, right? That's what adds up. The little moments that you take to make sure that you're doing what you need to do to create this notion of balance. Will the scales be leveled? No, probably not. I could be 80% one day, 20% another. Like last night, I was telling my husband, I was like, you were like 10% today. And he just laughed. I was like, you were like 10% husband, because he was overwhelmed at work. He came home, he spent time with the kids, and I was like kind of just there. And I was like, you were like 10% because, you got dinner for the kids. And he laughed because he knew what I meant by that, right? But that's okay. He could be 10% tomorrow, because I know that another time we will figure something out and we'll be there each other for a little bit more, right? But having those opportunities to have grace, be okay with the fact that I was a 20% mom today, but I kicked butt at work, right? Or being able to say that, you know what, today I just couldn't concentrate at work because I was so worried about my kid. That's okay too. right? And for men, in particular, who don't like talking about their feelings, talk about your feelings. Just let it out. You know, I was thinking of our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and who would he go to? He'd go to his wives, right? He would go to Khadija radiallahu anha for anything that was on his mind and for that relief, right? And if you're not married, you got parents, you got older brothers and sisters, you got mama, for those of you, right? Mom's always willing to listen. Have those conversations and create that space, because your whole self has to come home too, right? So whatever you're carrying at work, protecting your family from it isn't helping them. It's not. Talk about it. Let it out. Let those experiences kind of go. And the last thing I'll say is, for those of you who have parents alive and well, spend time with them. And do what you need to do to be okay and to have that time and that energy and that balance to spend time with your parents. Because that time that you have with them is fleeting. And the wisdom and the joy and the love, and it cannot be replicated. This is coming from somebody who has lost both parents. And if I can look back at times that I wish I had and I could take back, I would have left everything I did all those years to just have a few more moments. Okay, so that's it. I don't know that I left you with, you know, all the rules to work-life balance, but I think the idea was actionable steps, right? Whether you remember them or not. I hope you remember at least one. But little steps that lead us to some semblance of a balance, right? Some idea of a balance in our lives. If we are feeling better, we can be better for the people around us. We can be better Muslims. We can be better sisters, brothers, parents, caregivers. If you have parents that are ill, right, that's another layer there. So inshallah, I hope that you benefited. Anything good I shared came from Allah. Anything that made absolutely no sense, or that was all me. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much.
Alhamdulillah, jazakallah khair, Sister Neelam, for honestly a beautiful and enlightening talk. I think all of us definitely have some takeaways from that halaqa, so we really appreciate it. On to the next part of our program, we are going to focus on the top right quadrant of the Eisenhower matrix in terms of what's urgent and important for Maghrib